You have to live like you already died. Everybody has their fears. No matter how tough you think you are, I walk with the most tough man in the world, right? The most lethal man in the world. Everybody has their fears. You just have to overcome it. And no one fear is less than the other. Everybody has their own individual struggles in this world. The thing is, are you brave enough to overcome it?
Welcome back to Inspire Change with Jordan Mulligan. Today's episode is with the amazing CEO and founder of Ronin Tactics. His name is Tulam. Today's video was sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food with everything that your body needs. They've just sent me their new super greens. If you want to find out more, head to the link in the description.
What a beautiful morning. Luke, beautiful morning?
Oh yeah.
I actually managed to get a bit of meditation done this morning.
Yes?
Yeah, sat in the fresh air. It's been a bit of a reminder to try and stay mindful around you. So.
Oh,
Nice, yeah.
well, it's the journey. I want to take you to Garden of the Gods. You know, everybody that comes to Colorado wants to go to Garden of the Gods. So beautiful. But I want you to go to this place called Balanced Rocks. And I want us to take a photo together because look, your journey that you guys are going on in the next, look, how far do you gone in 6 years? So imagine in the next 6 years, you have a wall pictures of places you've been, you know, memories that you guys did together as a family, you know, business, you know, that's the journey. That's the journey. Bruce Lee said, don't focus on the destination. It's the journey, all right? So we focus too much on what we perceive as our end state, you know? It ain't over until, well, you take your last breath. That can happen anytime. So it's better to refine one's character, right, than to live and die empty person. As in, you live and die meaning nothing. Have no meaning. All right? So, you can only do that by understanding how beautiful today is, you know, and how beautiful life is. So it's good to reflect on the journey and the people you meet along the way, because it's the journey that ripples. Life, birth, death, it's all one and the same. You can't have death without life, right? You can't have, you know, birth without death. And the thing is, what do you do? What do you do with this life when you have strength and youth? What do you do? Because we're gonna all die as old people one day, right? But what did you do in this lifetime when you had this energy? You know? Did you make a difference? Or not? You know, that's really up to you, and you know, and your choice. You know, your choice to be either something more in life or to live a life of just survival. You know, survival to me is, look, 200,000 years of programmed instincts. It was handed down through the hunter-gatherers. It was handed down by our forefathers through generations. Our human species had to survive. Through evolution, we migrated through this planet. Through segregation, we had formed different cultures, right? But we came from one thing, you know? We came from one place. So what I say is, in this lifetime and this earth, what do you stand for?
How do you balance goal setting and being in the moment and not getting too attached to the goal?
Well, you know, it's this, you know, if let's say I work for, okay, let's just say I work for this promotion, right? And I really work my ass off for this promotion. That's your perception, right? I worked at 2 o'clock in the morning, man, you know, at least twice a week, you know, and I worked overtime. I deserve this promotion. That is your narrative that you placed on yourself. A expectation that's outside of your control, you see? So here you are on the day that they pronounce it, and then somebody else got the promotion, and you're like, what? I deserve a whole lot more, not knowing that this person works twice as hard as you, twice as hard, with a more creative mind, right? But yet you are in this narrative that you deserve it. So you live in this life of being a victim, right? Live in this life of being a victim. But if you don't have expectations on things, you know what, man, I really want this promotion. So I'm going to work on myself, right? So what is the expectations of me getting this promotion? Like, what is the criteria, right? Okay, the criteria is being this management position, being in this, having this type of education, whatever the criteria, you have to study, you know? So then once you study what the criteria is, then now you can formulate a plan, can you not? And then once you formulate a plan, then you must execute this plan with pure focus every single day. And that's the journey. The journey. The journey is so hard because it requires commitment, routine, repetition, discipline. It requires that. It requires struggle, right? And why I was saying about, you know, the human species, right, the 200,000 years, is that we have this survival mindset, this instinct that was handed down through, you know, over 200,000 years. You know, now data is, you know, 400,000 years, you know. The thing is that this mind that we were given by the Creator, it's 200,000 years. Our mind's the same like back then in primitive state. So what I'm saying is, back in the hunter-gatherer days, we were a species, and I say this because, guys, I was a Green Beret and I lived with rebels and I ran with the tribes. I know what it means to be a hunter-gatherer because I had to live with the hunter-gatherers. I went through Malaysia, had to live in the jungle. So these hunter-gatherer species, which was us, have a survival mindset. They look at the dangers, right? As the predators. Think about when we were hunter-gatherers, you know, our ancestors, they had to look at the dangers because there's so much predators that can kill our human species. So we have to become intelligent. And throughout the years, it's called survival. It's so strong, this instinct. You don't believe me? Drop a ramp of a airplane, step off the edge. 24,000 feet, there's no oxygen, total darkness. Stand there. You'll feel survival. You'll feel that instinct. The thing is, can you overcome this survival instinct of comfort? To seek comfort, right? Because now that's handed over through the generations, our ancestors, what kept our species alive is to seek comfort, to look at the dangers in the world, right? So now we look at the dangers in the world. What is the dangers in the world? Because we're not a hunter-gatherer species. We're domesticated for where, at least where I'm talking about, a majority of the world, we're domesticated. So what is the dangers? The dangers is you. The dangers is social media. The dangers are the voices, the doubts. The dangers are other people's opinions. The dangers, that's why you look at these negative things and you contemplate on them all day and you can't get it out of your mind. Why can't I get this negative thing out of my mind? I fucked up in life. Why I changed? Why can't I get this thing out of my mind? It's survival. It's in our DNA, genetics. But as a Green Beret, you know, I traveled around the world and then I saw primitive practices. I lived with the tribes, you know. I climbed mountains and I met the monks. And what I gather is this, you know, I was in Malaysia and I was doing jungle warfare training, you know? So let me put you in my state. We did survival training, you know, which we had to live off the land, and, you know, and that was really hard. You know, we starved because we didn't understand really that type of survival. But after a month of that training, then we went into Malaysian tracking school. So it was back-to-back training, Malaysian track in a rain jungle, you know, and untouched land. It looked very primitive, this rain jungle. And then we graduated from that, and the following week we went into jungle warfare training. So it was back-to-back training. This training, you're wet, you're hungry, you're tired. You're not getting very much sleep because anything could kill you in this jungle. You know, you're training, but people get killed by predators. They get trampled by wild elephants, boars, you know. There are tigers. So you're a predator. But what I saw was, when I went through this village, so we were doing this training, and look, there are bandits out there, so the threat is real. And we were moving through this village, and so the sniper set up an overwatch position. I pushed through, and these villagers came out, you know? Let me put you on my state. It was a bad day for me. Back-to-back training. I was young, you know, very young. I was 23 years old. Started feeling sorry for myself. I was hungry. I was wet. Leeches, you know, all over your body. You're just tired. You're carrying combat loads. And, you know, we're a few months into this, and, you know, prickly heat, the jungle will rot you away. I was feeling really sorry. It was raining that morning. I was walking through the village, and these people came out, and they danced, and they, one guy tried to, you know, carry my backpack, and, you know, they're very loving and friendly people, very simple people. And this girl came running out, you know, in the village in the rain, in the pouring rain, no shoes. Half of her grass hut that she lived in was eaten by a trail of termites, rats, squirm around these villagers, you know. But yet they're so happy. So happy. So simple. So what I realized in life is that we complex ourselves with what we perceive as happiness. Happiness comes from community, fulfillment. It comes from helping others. It comes from working. When I say working, it's fulfillment. You know, if you're given everything, you'll never have fulfillment. So that's what, to me, life is about, is it not? Fulfillment. So it's amazing that, you know, I found that in Malaysia, in the most simple things. You know, Masashi Miyamoto, the Ronin, once said that the answer is found in the smallest things, in the simplest things, in the deepest things, and in the shallowest things. Ronin.
So just, I know we're just off camera. You've explained some of the mental torture you was put through. Is there another example of that you could share with us?
Well, without getting into in the classified area of it, but, you know, during SEER training, survival, evasion, resistance, escape training, you know, you're a prisoner of war. And there's certain levels of this training, high risk level. In Special Forces, you have to go through the high risk level of SEER, which you are a prisoner of war. During this phase of training, you know, they teach you how to escape, you know, so this came with, you know, experience from prisoners of war in the Special Forces regiment. One of the things is, you know, we have a tunnel system where there's a pipe in the middle of, in the woods of North Carolina, and then you climb a ladder down this pipe, and then you have a series of tunnels. And you began the tunnel with you crawling on your hands and knees, you know, this tunnel under the ground. This dark, cold tunnel. It's extremely dark down there. There's no light, you know. You're crawling through. And it starts in your hands and knees, and then you go to your elbows. And you start crawling your elbows. And then you start elongating your body, and you start crawling like a prone position, you know, low crawling position. The pipe narrows, elongate your body. You start pulling with your arms, kicking with your legs, your toes, pushing, clawing with your nails. The pipe underneath this ground, you know. Can you imagine the psychological effects of that? It's to face your fears. During a resistance training, you know, you're captured, you're a prisoner, and they put you in this box. It's a man-made box, you know. It's a coffin. The box is so tight that they cram you in this box. You can barely breathe. They close you in this box, and sometimes the only way to close it is you have to inhale. This box so tight, crammed, and then they start drilling this box shut. You can hear it. You're blindfolded in this box. And they lower this box into a hole, and then you can hear sand as you're being buried alive. It's to endure, right? It's to be able to push through the mental barriers. And the mental barriers is how do you understand how to push through it unless you feel it, right? So that's the thing is, you know, in special forces, you're going to feel it and you're going to go through it. And you have to push that mental barrier. And people tell me, you know, like, what's that mean? It's to be able to do shit that you don't want to do. All right. For me, one of my mental barriers in the special forces is I'm very prone motion sickness. I get motion sickness easy. You could call it genetics or whatever. Any low-level flight, map of the earth, when we hide underneath radars, you know, throw up all over the place. Any amphibious type of infiltration, I throw up on myself. Any, you know, like I said, anything that, like, fast-moving cars, you know, when we're driving defensively, you know, I had to overcome these barriers. It didn't matter if I felt sick. It didn't matter that I was dizzy. I had to push through. You know, you're driving at speeds, hitting over 100 miles with night vision, you know, and you're motion sickness, and you have to stay focused. Heights. Gosh, I was so afraid of heights. You know, and here I am, 24,000 feet, standing at the ramp of a back of an airplane, a C-130, as they drop the ramp, staying in the back. Here I am, petrified, you know, of heights. And, you know, the jump master duties, you have to be able to spot your drop point. That means it requires you to have a GPS on your wrist line, and then you're spotting a reference point on the ground that you plotted, you know, roughly. So you're off the side of an aircraft. You're standing on an open ramp. Your body's hanging off the aircraft. There's nothing holding you in this thing, you know? You see absolutely nothing. And you're going off of your grid coordinates or your pre-planned drop points, you know? I'm petrified of heights. You gotta overcome your fears. You have to live like you already died. So everybody has their fears. No matter how tough you think you are, I walk with the most tough man in the world, right? The most lethal man in the world. Everybody has their fears. You just have to overcome it. And no one fear is less than the other. Everybody has their own individual struggles in this world. The thing is, are you brave enough to overcome it? Are you willing to die for this belief? And that's Bushido.
Huel have just sent me their new daily greens. If you want to find out more, head to the link down below. It's the most convenient way of getting everything that your body needs. It takes 10 seconds to prepare. I'm now going to hit this every single morning along with one of their shakes throughout the day. That saves me so much time when we're flying around the world with all our equipment, we're doing these podcast episodes, to know that I can get all of this nutrients, the minerals, the vitamins in 10 seconds is mind blowing. So if you want to find out more, head to the link down below where you can get Huel. Did I mention that it's absolutely delicious? Because it really is absolutely delicious. All of their products are down below.
Has there any studies been done on the effects of the training that was done for special forces? The training you're talking about when you're outside of all, like what sort of lasting effect that has?
Besides, the traumatic effects of being in some of the worst places, dealing with some of the worst human beings, seeing the aftermath to that what they do to the innocent people, like seeing it, feeling it, smelling it. Smell embodies you understand. It goes to every crevice of your body. You can't never escape it. But besides that mental side of it, of trauma, you have also like I want to say this, so for me, I was in a counter-terrorist special forces team, a SIF team. So we had to employ a lot of explosives, external explosives, internal explosives. We did a lot of underground bunker type of stuff when I was training for contingencies in North Korea. We did a lot of this stuff in very confined spaces. So what I'm saying is explosives in confined spaces causes concussions. And the shock waves rattle your brain. It rattles your organs. We do this over and over and over because that's part of training. Rattling our brains and our organs. We shoot anti-tank weapons that stops our heart for that 1 second, rattles the rhythm of our heart because the energy of this weapon. So throughout the years, you're going to feel these effects, especially the traumatic brain injuries. And that actually came out like when I started getting out, right towards the tail end of my career. A lot of data came out because a lot of guys were coming out with health issues, mental health issues, physical health issues. A lot of it was lead poisoning. I could tell you in Okinawa, Japan, our shoot houses were very rudimentary back then. It was, being in a close quarter hostage rescue type of assignment was back then was very classified. So a lot of our training facilities were very remote. And so I want to tell you, the shoot house in Okinawa, Japan was a very old style shoot house. Didn't have the proper ventilations for when we threw concussion grenades, when we employ, smoke, when we came in and did explosive training. We're breathing in all this, When we go underground and we're utilizing explosives, we're rattling all of this asbestos in the tunnel systems. Training for contingencies in North Korea. So what happened, and also in Iraq, a lot of guys, there's a lot of study now that a lot of veterans are getting cancer because in Iraq, this is also in the UK, like even all of our allied forces in Iraq, our American forces and our allied forces, we co-locate in certain forward deployed bases, and they'll send in contractors to burn trash. So there are like these burn pits, and the wind will wash the hazardous material into our living quarters. And guys are here for years. Like there was a team guy there for over a year. Our deployments sometimes are 4 months. Breathing this. And we employed a lot of communication devices that we're going into the higher frequency ranges that can really mess up your internals, your organs. So yeah, I would say like a lot of a lot of the things that a veteran experience is deeper than just physical or mental. You know, it's a lot to do with their living quarters, the conditions that we had to live in, you know, the food that we had to eat, you know. So those are the issues that I see that's going on in America, and also the treatment. You know, it is changing in America, but the treatment that, you know, I was was given wasn't that great. It was, hey, give them more painkillers. Well, you're just making me more of a drug addict, you know? And then when I got out of the military, I made a choice not to do it anymore. But I want to explain to you my process of getting out. You know, it took, you know, really 23 years to train who I was. It took 5 days to get out of the Army. 5 days. You know, no process to mentally disconnect. You know, there was no process. Now I think that they're doing a lot better. I'm just telling you my process. And you know, when I had to retire and I had to in-process the VA hospital, I'll tell you what my VA doctor said to me. We're really busy, so hopefully I don't ever have to see you. And looking at your career, guys like you roughly have 5 years. You know? The mental. You're hearing this from, you know, a doctor that you trust. Defeated mind. So the thing is, you know, cram more drugs down veterans, right? Numb them more from the pain. Don't give them the practice, don't give them the tools. There's no program set in place. You know, and now I feel like it's better because the veterans are actually helping the veterans. We're not relying on, you know, physicians or doctors that never been downrange. Now, you know, like my peers, Tom Spooner, he runs this beautiful healing ground for veterans, you know, and he helps them out so much. Gosh, man, I tell you, he runs this place called Warrior's Heart, and he's a true warrior. You know, he was in the unit, Special Forces Green Beret. Now he's giving back, helping veterans. And what him and I talked about when I visited him was that same thing. You know, we get crammed down, you know, drugs, and yeah, you're just making more of a drug addict. So you're making me rely on the externals. You know, and then Tom brought me out of this healing ground, and he talked about community, and he talked about, you know, forgiving, fulfillment, you know, the same things that I believe in, but he was doing it in his own way. So beautiful. I'm so proud of him. Yeah, so what I see now is, you know, like getting back to Tom, I'm so proud of my friend, you know. What an amazing human being, not just a warrior, human being. And that's the thing is, like, you know, when we get out is, you know, you have a choice as a veteran, right? We, like I said, we're not given a practice, we're given drugs, all right? So now, like I said, things have changed. There are programs now that I can say that are ran by veterans, but back when I got out, we were given drugs. So you're just numbing an issue, you know? You're never really solving anything. And I think we lost touch of what is truly important. Let's go back to the village. People that have nothing, so happy. Look, guys, I'm telling you, the most happy person a family of the most happy family I've ever seen. When I say it, a community, right? So, you know, now that I am a celebrity and I do run with celebrities and I work in Hollywood a lot, and I have a lot of friends that are celebrities, and you know what, some of them rich and famous, you know, but yet so unhappy, so unhappy. So it's not about that. It's about giving back, right? Fulfillment.
Is that something you've seen a lot more of at the moment? Veterans helping out other veterans instead of government stepping in?
Oh, it's 50-50, really. You know, I see veterans that help out other veterans, and veterans that are drug addicts and, you know, addicted to whatever addiction they're addicted to numb their pain. And they had lash out against other veterans, you know, successful veterans. You know, they hate, and they hate because they're hurting. You know, they hate because they're hurting, and that's what I understand now. You know, and anybody, not just veterans, anybody who's been through any traumatic incident, they lash out because they don't know how to control their own emotions. But how can they? How can they? You know, who's taught? Who's taught how to control your emotions? You know, and for me, it was like, you know, my emotions were going out of control at one portion of my life, and I was spinning out of control. And I made a choice. It was just really that simple. I made a choice, and choice obviously is hard, right? Because it goes with commitment, dedication, and all that, right? So the thing was, but I made a choice, and my choice was to live in beauty. And look, living in beauty, you know, people are like, what's that mean, right? Living in beauty is this. We look at the externals, right? We look at the externals to affect how we feel inside. We look at it. You know, oh man, today it's a rainy day. What a shitty day. It's not a shitty day. It's only a day. What a beautiful day. It's not just a beautiful day. It's only a day. We put our narrative on this day because we live externally. We place a narrative on everything. Everything. Since we're a child, we try to rationalize everything through our analytical mind. It's not truth. So the thing is, we live externally, but what happens if I tell you, what if I say, you're in total awareness of how you feel right now? Total awareness. And you say, wow, I kind of feel a little tense in my abdominal area, kind of like stress this morning. What if I tell you that you can get rid of that through breathing exercises, through mindfulness, right? So what I'm saying is, who's taught that? And why would I want to do that? Look, I didn't meditate until I needed to meditate. That's how things work. You don't need to do it until you need to do it. And look, guys, majority of the world, you know, Confucius once said, you know, that if you wish to judge others, start with yourself. Something so simple, right? We paint a narrative on what is our truth, and then we try and force our truth into what others believe. And if we don't like what they believe, then we oppress them. We kill them. We go to war over the inability to control one's emotions.
What is the post support from war from the military?
You know, I tell you, Jordan, when I got out, man, you know, I was really bad off. And, you know, I took a different method. I took a different method in the way I healed myself. You know, first I was so ashamed of who I became, you know, so I buried myself, and basically I reflected on who I am today, and I accepted who I was, and I forgave myself for my mistakes, and then I wrote who I wanted to be. You know, and then I worked every day at becoming who I wanted to be off of really my special forces training. I dove back into discipline and intelligence, and, you know, and really that was my healing process. But every veterans have their own healing process, you know. But if you ask me, you know, did I receive support from the military, like active military? They don't check up on you. You know, no fault of their own, the military is the military. It's such a big, well, it is, it's an industry, you know? And the thing is, you're just a number. You know, and you shouldn't take that personal, you're just a number, and don't have expectations of what you think, you know, the veteran support system should be. for me was I didn't expect anything from them anymore. So I took it upon myself, right? So what I'm saying is that veterans, what I see, help themselves once they figure it out. Once they figure it out. And that's a choice. You can subject yourself to a life of addictions afterwards to numb this pain, or you can face it, work on yourself, and in doing so, when you work on yourself, in doing so, we create a better world. And if you create a better world and your child creates a better world, and one day our children will have a better world, will not? You know, I was invited recently to go back to the Special Forces Regiment. You know the honor in that? The Special Forces Regiment, Green Beret, warriors, the top, 1%. Can you imagine that? Being asked the honor to go speak to the graduating class, Special Forces. You know, I was so honored, but I was so nervous. What am I gonna say? Right? So I flew back to North Carolina. Well, my son Jacob and I and Ruthie, we went to Florida, and I was giving, you know, a podcast in Florida, and then I flew straight from there to North Carolina. Went to the regiment, so totally nervous that morning, and spoke with my heart, you know, and then what I spoke was, you know, what do you want to know when you were there, when you were 21, sitting right there, what would you want to know? And it was amazing, because you know what amazing journey, right? And the thing is that, yeah, the military didn't help me, but that didn't matter. That's outside my control. I can help others. That's within my control. So yeah, I didn't get the support that I needed, but why not give what I wasn't given, right? So I can't help others unless I was treated that way. In life, it's about you figuring out what is important. You will never get to where you want to be surrounding yourself with people with different journeys, different expectations. So you have to surround yourself with the people you wish to be, and in time, you become it. And it's so powerful.